I'm Richie Lewis reporting for cadred.org. Things are winding down here now, especially on the League of Legends side of the event at Gfinity London. They've taken away the sandwiches. There's people pulling up wires and trying to look happy while they're doing it. A lot of. There he goes. I am happy, he says. But I'm here with the person I think it's most important we speak to. We've talked to the players. Let's talk to the casters who've had the kind of awesome eagle eye hovering thing. It is Panky. You recognise the face. First of all, thank you very much for agreeing to do the interview. First time I've interviewed you. Always nice to meet new people. So, what have you thought of the event so far then? I mean, you've been able to sit back, watch the teams, cast the games. You've seen how it's been organised. You've had to fill when there's been delays. What are your overall thoughts?
It's a first event. First event's always going to have its ups and downs and hiccups. We've had a lot of teams that were putting out very last minute, a couple of teams that have filled in as a result from the last 2 or 3 days. But even with those, we've had a very good tournament. A lot of teams put on some strong performances. We had 3-way ties in both of the groups, so they were fairly evenly matched, very well done. Semi-finals day was a little bit more one-sided in each of the game, 2-0s in both semis and then 2-0s in the final. But they were exciting games. They were fun to watch. So ultimately, I think it's been a success. There's a lot we've learned from this event, and going into the next one, we should see a much bigger production.
Given that you've kind of been around the community for a long, long time, you know, so pretty much since its inception, you've worked on several levels. I mean, obviously you are a caster first and foremost, but you know, you do have your fingers in other pies and you do other things. I mean, how much technical involvement did you have here? I mean, were you consulted on certain decisions and whatnot?
I was very much in the early days, other caster opinions, some of the admin opinions, the team inputs, that sort of thing. The technical side of the productions, all those cables and buttons, I have no idea how those things work. I sit down, put a headset on and talk to it. But as far as who's attended and how we wanted to run the tournament, I had a big part in that. And yeah, Gfinity have done a great thing in listening to what I had to say. They are very, very clear with the fact that they haven't done much League. They are very Call of Duty based. So what issues they had to start with, I hope we ironed out early on, and it does seem to have shown.
In terms of the stream with the production value, number of people watching it and all that, do you feel it's been successful? Do you think it generated enough hype and got the attention it deserved?
I think you can always look for ways to improve the hype around an event. There's always other ways that you could have got some information out there, could have got some more viewers on the stream. But considering the competition we had to go up against this weekend, it's been a big one for esports and not just League. The numbers we've had and the numbers we've had for the event as a total, with Call of Duty included, have been very, very good, especially for a UK-based event. So I think everyone's happy with those. I'm very happy with those. It's gone very well, and we've got a good footing to build from.
I want to ask about kind of what happens when, because LCS is so big, so what happens when events like this kind of clash with LCS? It's kind of a bit of a strange situation to be in because, you know, for example, with the Blizzard model, they do try and have like one tournament at any given time, you know, so events don't clash. We're in this situation now where there's this massive disparity between the amateur scene and what the LCS offers. They're almost kind of vying for a very, you know, not limited, but you know, the same kind of attention, the same kind of viewers, and LCS is always going to win out. So what are your thoughts about that kind of almost contradiction at the moment?
You say LCS is always going to win out. I don't think it's always going to. It's just a case of building fan bases for some of these amateur teams, getting people to realize that there's more than just those 8 LCS squads out there, and then they will go and watch the teams they want to see, rather than it's LCS, we have to watch the LCS, or it's just an amateur tournament, I don't care about the amateur tournament. They want to go and look at the teams that they enjoy. So once people start to realize these events are going on and that there are other teams out there, which I know Riot have plans to help promote the amateur squads, there's more than enough actual amateur tournaments going on a weekly basis from other companies as well. Once people start to realize those teams exist and those players are out here and there are other personalities to watch, they'll start to grow a fan base and those events will start to get traction from there. And then as the whole scene grows, of course the numbers are going to inflate across everything.
Do you think Riot could do more to kind of help the amateur scene out then? I mean, if you had kind of a, you know, one thing you could do that Riot can maybe do to help the amateur scene get a bit more traction, like you say, what would it be?
Simply coverage, like getting the name out there. Lots of new events coming through, and obviously they want, right, can you promote our event, can you push our event? But they've had to put a lot of time and effort into LCS. That is their baby. They can't switch any focus off from that. And if they put their name to every new event that came along, it wouldn't mean anything. Yeah. So you've got to go for a little while. You've got to do it all yourself. You can't rely on them to go with it. But once you've proven yourself, yeah, Riot are big supporters of their game. They're big supporters of anyone that's going to try and help that grow. So once you've proven yourself, so they're going to help push you along.
You casted the final with the chap from Dignitas Stress, right? I wanted to talk to you about casting because obviously that's your bread and butter. It would be stupid not to. How do you think he got on? Because I know he's been doing quite well from a community casting perspective. I think this was his first final though, so I may be wrong about that. Sorry if I am, Odie. But how do you think he got on? Is he got a real potential to kind of fit in there with the big boys?
Yeah, Stress has been casting for a while now. It's the first time I've actually had a chance to cast with him. He's done a couple of events. He did the MCM Expo here in London a couple of weeks back, which apparently they got about 600 people in their live crowd, which for a UK event is another big number. Yeah. It's the first time, I tried to take on a very colour caster-based role. It's the first time he's really had that to deal with because of some of the other events, the online events, and Europe as a whole has had really severe lack of colour casters, so it's more of two play-by-plays to just have a conversation, drop a couple of names in here and jockey off each other. But he did well adapting to having that clear-cut differential, letting me do some analysis, throwing it to him for other fights, making it interesting, asking me some questions or things. So no, considering that's the first time we've cast together and the first time we've really tried to differentiate between the two roles, he did really well.
I want to ask you about, it's kind of a weird, I'll try and phrase it correctly, disparity between casters at the moment in League of Legends, because it feels almost like the guys at the top are in an unassailable position. You've got guys like yourself who are almost there, knocking on the door. This isn't in terms of ability, just status, of course. And then you've got guys like looking to break through, and it's taking that step seems to be the hardest. So have you ever kind of felt a bit disparaged, disheartened with the way casting is in League of Legends, with these kind of huge celebrities at the top and everyone else kind of really struggling below that?
As soon as LCS was announced, everyone went, well, everyone outside LCS casters now has got nothing. They're screwed. They're over. I was one of the biggest defenders of Riot at the time. So that's not the case. Riot aren't going to just completely cut it off at the head and leave it away from everyone else. These events are always going to be around. People are always going to be running them. Okay, they're not going to be getting the huge millions of numbers. They're not going to be getting the biggest teams, but they're there. And if you really wanted to succeed as a caster, you can do that. You can keep going. I think the other thing we need big time with League especially to help new casters break through is finally bringing in the replay system. At the moment, and the biggest advice I ever give to casters that ask me how do I do it, is just cast something, go and find it. And without replays of these better games and the top teams and things, they do find that content hard to come by. As soon as that goes out, YouTube's going to explode full of upcoming wannabe casters, and there'll be a lot more talent to choose from. And then even events like this and the weekly challenger-based events are going to have much more to choose from, and those guys are going to get spotted for their talent, and they're going to get trained up. And then, yes, it's easily going to be possible for them to be picked up by the LCS and by the premier events.
How does that make you feel then? Because obviously, you're the guy who's always going to be probably the first come-to guy for something like this, for a big event outside of LCS. Panky's your man, right? We're going to come and we're going to get you. If there was a sudden influx of new talent, does that put more pressure on you, or would you be a little bit worried about that?
Of course I'm going to be worried about that. They're competition at the end of the day, but ultimately more casters is always a good thing. It's going to help me improve. I'm going to keep driving to keep on top of my game, on top of them. If they're better than me, fine, take them. They're better casters. That's always a possibility.
Well, it's not always a meritocracy anyway, is it?
There's that too, but it's like I want to see League succeed. I want to see esports succeed. If the guy's better to pick and better to do the job than I am, take it. It's going to be better for the growth. But I'd like to think that with my years of experience and head start, I can stay up there with them. But more casters is always a good thing. So, yeah, it's going to keep driving me forward, but I wouldn't say it scares me too bad.
Have you, ever given any thought to kind of any other elements that you might like to get involved in esports? Because obviously, casting at the moment, we don't have a huge amount of events outside of LCS. We're all hoping that's going to change. But, when you've got free time and you're not being, active, have you ever thought, I wouldn't mind managing a team or coaching a team, or I wouldn't mind, trying my hand to a bit of writing or whatever? Do you ever think about that?
Well, I lived with Curse for 6 months with their European team, so in that position I was sort of a coach kind of to them sometimes. I helped with some manager ability too. That's not something that I really took to. It was an interesting experience. It's nice to try it, but it's not something I can see myself doing full time. I have the idea of getting into running events, helping to get these things set up, which with working with Gfinity to help get this one going, I really got my teeth into and like to try and take that to another step, which also having a lack of events would be something I see quite useful. If I can help with the guys that are looking to try and get these off the ground, help run them, and then I would eventually cast them as on too, we'll get more of those out there and in the open too. So I'd like to be able to consult, if nothing else, on people looking to get into the esports scene. If there's plenty of investors out there, there's plenty of people that want to do it. I think Virgin Gaming is the first one that's come to my mind. I would love to talk to those guys and tell them, you're not doing this right. They've poured money into esports a couple of times, or what they think is the right way, but it's not quite there. And if we ever got Virgin's money behind a proper event run by guys that know esports, I think it would explode. So I'd love to help them with that.
Okay, so you've talked there about how there's, this influx of people not spending the money the correct way. So who do people need to listen to? When you've got money burning a hole in your pocket in esports, who should the go-to guys be? I mean, do we need to listen to players? Do we need to listen to community? Do we need to listen to stewards such as yourself? Maybe businessmen know how best to spend it. Maybe we're a little bit naive in our understanding of it. Who should esports people be going to, in your opinion?
You've got to take a bit from everyone. Like, the players are going to have things that only players will have experienced that they can tell you about. Casters and production people will have had things they've experienced that only they can tell you about. But the biggest thing is you need to speak to people that have worked in esports before, not people that worked in some kind of sport before, or these guys have run a tournament for Sunday League footballers before, and this will be enough. It's not the same. It is a completely different world. That's why we like it. That's why we are separate from this, and we don't follow traditional sports. This is the sport we love. This is the sport we enjoy. So you've got to find people that have been doing that for a time, that have tried to run their own events perhaps and failed and get reasons to why, or experiences to why, and you've got to watch the things that are currently out there to premier events. You've got to watch the likes of the OGNs and the LCSs and the LPLs and see what makes them so successful, what kind of tips and tricks they've been using, and see how you could implement that into your show.
So I think casters these days are kind of waking up to the fact that you can't just be the one game dude anymore. I mean, we're starting to see lots of people who are like, I cast this game, I cast that game, I do this, I do that, and they get around, they put themselves about, and they kind of treat it as a job in itself, and whatever they're commentating on is kind of almost secondary to that. Is this a route you're potentially going to go down, because you're synonymous with League of Legends? There are some interesting opportunities out there. There are some games that are, getting a bit of traction that don't have a recognised caster yet. Things like World of Tanks, or which is great to spectate, and games like that. So, could you ever be tempted away from League of Legends to do other things?
Not on a permanent basis. League's always where I'm going to come back to, but I've helped some friends out. I helped Panky at Epic Land a couple of weeks back, Call of Duty forecasting. I loved that game through and through. It was my first thing I ever played semi-competitively, and if someone tried to revitalize Call of Duty 4, I would jump on that ship. I've had a couple of offers from people at Gamescom looking to run some slightly different events that they need some kind of casting from, that I will probably dip into. Unfortunately, League on its own, for non-rioters and non-LCS casters, isn't 100% sustainable business model on its own. You can't live off this. So yeah, I'm going to have to dip into others. But I will always come back to League if that opportunity arises.
So, what are you going to be doing next then? I mean, we're all definitely going to need some relaxation time. It's been long days, incredible temperatures. It's really taken it out of me. Black was a bad choice. So, what are you going to be doing next with your time?
I'm going to go enjoy this British sunshine while we still have it, because I don't think it's going to last for very long. And also going to start planning my trip for World Finals. Now that more information's come out for that, I want to get out there and get hopefully as much coverage as I can from that, and see if I can work with some companies out there for those 3 weeks in September or October.
And for guys who maybe are watching this for the first time, because obviously we've got FPS and all sorts of guys following this coverage, is there any dedicated area that they can follow what you're doing? Obviously a Twitter, a YouTube channel, anything like that? Twitter's
probably the best one. That would be @lolpanky. I have got a Facebook page, but it slips my mind at the moment. It'll be on the Twitter. It's all linked up, so it can go through there. I want to start putting some more YouTube content now. That is youtube.com/Panky578.
Yeah. A lot of Pankies before you.
Yeah, apparently so. At the moment, there's not so much on there, but I want to start populating that with some more things, some different things too, not just League of Legends. So.
Well, look, thanks a lot for taking the time to talk to us. I love your work. I love what you're doing. You've definitely added something fantastic to this tournament. It's been really enjoyable, to cover, and it's certainly enjoyable to watch when I had time to do so. So keep up the good work. Look forward to seeing you again at another tournament. To all the people out there, do stay tuned to the website. We're going to have more interviews like this one. We're going to switch our focus now to the Call of Duty consoles. If you're a LoL fan, I don't know, maybe you're going to tune out. I recommend that you don't. We'll try and make it entertaining for you guys as well. We always try and cater to all tastes. So stay tuned to the website, cadred.org. We're going to be covering Gfinity London. Thanks very much.